Hey guys, good evening. It's Friday night here in Newburgh and back again for episode 4 of our podcast. It's Matt and Jake's business podcast. Still going to work on the name, but for now we're going to focus on intro video. So that should be coming in one of the next few videos. Pretty excited about that.
That'll be fun to work on.
Yeah, no kidding. So new phone. Sorry if it seems to be a little blurry right now. I'm going to try and fix that.
That's a little better.
But so new phone, so bear with us as we get used to some new things. We're just always trying to improve this. So I guess this evening we're coming to talk to you guys just about not letting qualifications stop you, not letting, instead of letting obstacles stop you, learning how to work through them and learning what to do to really get past those things that are stopping you from doing the things that you want and start figuring out using that energy that you're burning from getting upset about that into how you can get what you want. So what Matt and I were just talking about before we got this started was oftentimes you go to Craigslist, you go to Facebook or wherever you're looking for jobs, and the job sites will say things like 2 years experience minimum. And you'll see that and you'll say, oh my goodness, I don't have any experience. How am I ever going to get this job if I can't get experience? Because everybody wants experience in the job. Well, unfortunately, that's just a way of them to kind of weed out the people. But if you go in and sell yourself to that job, if you show them you're serious, well, I guarantee they're going to want someone serious about the job that is willing to take chances. Then they're going to look for someone who's just been doing that job for a little bit longer. So don't let that stop you. Get in there, apply for the job anyway, and just rock it.
Well, I think the easiest way to apply is this podcast. We've never podcast before. I don't record videos.
No videos, nothing.
Speaking in public, maybe, obviously in high school, college, a little bit, group presentations, but never have I recorded a video on a weekly basis, a podcast, call it a podcast, whatever, come up with content to talk about. And so, we just kind of decided we're just going to do it because if we suck, we'll only get better. And I also like to think about if you never walked in your entire life and you decided not to walk because you were somebody who didn't know how to walk, you would never walk, right? And it sounds stupid and basic, but that's everything in life. If you don't...
Well, that's it. I don't know if any of you guys have kids, but typically people know somebody with a baby or somebody, they've known babies in their lives. Well, I guarantee you that when you meet those babies, when Everly, right now, she's just turned 1.
Yep.
And so she's walking.
Yeah, she's taking 4 or 5 steps.
Right. Now. So she started walking. The first thing she did, she didn't just stand up one day and just decide, I'm going to start walking. She stood up, fell back down. Stood up, fell back down, held onto the couch, moved her way along the couch, and it improved from there. Nobody ever let those first times falling down stop them. If they did, we'd all have a bunch of people sitting around. We look like the movie WALL-E. You seen WALL-E?
Right, yeah. Funny. So actually, funny story about Everly. She's actually a good example of what most people do is if you hold her hand, she can walk for miles. She can climb up a slide by herself, but she's afraid to take more than 5 steps by herself because she doesn't know she can do it. But she literally has the skills.
Right.
And then the other day, we kind of coerced her to come walk towards us, and then she realized, hey, I can take steps. And it was a skill that she already had that she just unlocked, realized that her potential was there.
Right.
And that's exactly what I think a lot of people don't know is they have the potential, just, you're in school, they tell you need to have a major, you need a minor in this, you need to figure out what you're good at and stick to that. Well, that's true once you know what you're good at, but if you don't try anything, you're not good at anything. So
yeah, well, and you know what? Some people agree with college, some people don't. I don't think college is for everyone. I think a lot of people spend a lot of money on college. That's unnecessary. First off, Ed Milet talks about this a lot, is clarity. And that's with anything. If you're going for a job, if you're going for college, if you're going for virtually anything, clarity is super important. So if you're going to college and you're about to spend $20, $40, $100,000 over the next 4 years on this schooling, and you're going in and you're going to say, well, I don't really know what I'm going to go, but I'm going to give it a shot. Well, stop. Figure it out. What are you going to do? What are you going there for?
Well, and also, you can spend $20, $40, $100,000 on a business and not really know what you're going to do.
Right.
And probably have better success.
Right. Well, I guarantee you. So I've never been to college. I applied for a few. I got accepted to a few. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So what did I do? I tried to figure out, okay, what am I actually interested in? And I went for it. I knew I liked working with my hands. I knew I liked construction. I didn't know anything about it. I knew simple things like swinging a hammer and using a drill. When I started, I was scared of a saw. You know, it's just things like that I just decided, you know what, I'm going to push through this. I'm going to learn it, and I'm going to make mistakes. I mean, I have made thousands and thousands of dollars of mistakes, but those thousands of dollars of mistakes, well, they're a lot cheaper than college. And I now own a successful construction company. I drive a 2017 Ram 2500 Cummins. I own my F-350 that I use as my work truck. I bought my house. I'm 25 years old, and I feel like a lot of the other 25-year-olds I know, and maybe I'm wrong, but I mean they're just getting out of living from their parents' house. They're maybe financing a vehicle with their parents co-signing it. They're, just little things. And that's, don't let it stop just because you're 25, go for it. But just make sure you have clarity, have a good reason why you're doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you have anything to hit on that?
I think just another little segue going off of, being young and not letting it stop you. I won't use names, but I met with somebody earlier today, recently moved to the area. And honestly, like I kind of got the impression they were fresh in their industry and were kind of learning, but at the same time, like he used LinkedIn to reach out to one person, and then that one person connected him with two more. And then like, I'm going to try and connect him with people. So like, he went about it the right way. He didn't know anybody. And so he just took a shot in the dark. I mean, he could have easily just not done anything, said, I don't know anybody. This is too hard. I got to figure it out. He's a financial advisor. He's 23 years old, and I think he's going to do well just because he's willing to take chances. When I worked at Verizon, I had a manager, and the things he said weren't exactly politically correct, but he said the best people in sales are the people that are new, and they're the best because they're stupid.
Right.
And he said because they're not afraid to make a mistake because they don't know they're making a mistake until it's already made.
Right. Well, think about it. Like when I sold insurance before. That's what I did before I started construction. I did it for a year. To me, it just wasn't for me. I enjoy sales, but that just wasn't for me. But I went out my first month, and I had to sell. To be honest, the guy I was working under at the time, I didn't know it, but he was going to lose his job if I didn't sell. So they just told me like, hey, you got to sell. And so I went out in 1 month at 19 years old. I sold 50 policies. That was what I had to do. Now I had help. I didn't do it completely by myself, but I did. I had to write, each line of business myself. And sorry, I'm gonna hit pause for a well. You know what? I'm not. You keep talking. I'm gonna go quiet my dog down.
All right. Yeah. So I guess. Well, Jake's going talking about the dog. I mean, he talked about like he did it himself. He didn't know what he was doing. He was stumbling into figuring things out in the insurance world. And obviously, I'm in the insurance world now, and I can tell you, it's not like you just walk in and make a bunch of money. Everyone jokes that the person in insurance drives a Mercedes and that kind of deal, but it's not like it starts day one. And that's any business, right? Like ask anyone who's owned a restaurant or, any business ever, you don't just start off, but you have to be confident enough in yourself that you're going to learn it. You're going to figure it out. If you don't know it today, you're going to know it tomorrow. And those are the only options. So.
All right, I'm back. Hey, so that was one of our Airbnb guests. I didn't really know when they were showing up, but I think that's something I brought up in the first one. That's just something that my fiance and I do for some extra cash, and it's really nice. If you haven't tried Airbnb and you got an extra room in your house, definitely something that I would recommend at least looking into. So anyways, back to it. Where did we leave off?
It's a good question.
That's a good question. So, well,
you're talking about doing it yourself, that you started the business, you did it yourself, not being qualified.
right. I mean, yeah, that's right. So I was talking about the insurance thing, and so I knew I liked sales, but I just didn't like sitting at the office. So I wasn't afraid to make the change, get to, I started with the basics. I had to make a ton of mistakes, and I learned a lot from my uncle. He's been a contractor for 25 years. If I could go back, the biggest things I would do would be spend way more time on YouTube learning. Type things in YouTube. YouTube literally will teach you anything. Anything. Get on YouTube. Stop thinking that you need to do it yourself to learn, and start taking other people's advice. Get on, I still, I've been doing this for 6 years now. I own my company, and we do tons of jobs. I'm always looking for new little ways to find out, hey, I've been doing this for 4 years this way, but maybe someone in the last year has figured out a different way to do it. Boom. All of a sudden I'm doing it twice as fast because some little trick that I learned on YouTube, because I decided I don't need to do it all myself. I can find other things, and it's a waste of money if you're not going out and finding the best way to do things. If there's something that you're interested in, even something like learning skateboarding or sales, or maybe you want to garden, just get out there and figure out ways that you can do it. Stop letting yourself or your pride stop you from taking advice.
Well, exactly on that line. So I think we talked about this last time, but in Grant Cardone's The 10X Rule, there's a chapter that talks about destroying your competition. Don't try and compete with people in your industry, but destroy them. Become the name for your industry. And and one of the things he talks about is doing things that your competitors aren't doing. And so I thought, what are my competitors not doing? Well, they're not reaching out to other agency owners and asking them how they got started and what they're doing to be successful and how they've been doing it so long. And so I did that, and first meeting was awesome. I met an agency owner. He's been with State Farm for forever, and he told me, the things he's done to be successful. But the other thing I learned is that, he'll know exactly who he is if he sees this, but he only works a 10-hour work week. And so I was like, man, if I could be as successful as that guy and work 30 hours, 40 hours a week, even if I 20 hours a week, the same success and double the amount of time, just imagine where that could take me, and then what else I could do in the remaining 20-hour work week, 30 more, whatever it is.
Right. Yeah,
I literally just went out and asked advice, and if I was too prideful to ask another person in insurance how they're doing better than me in insurance, then I would not
then what kind of insurance agent are you?
Yeah.
Why not learn from people with more experience? That's just like, what a waste to think that you have to be the full force of any experience you get. It's like I said, think of all the thousands of dollars that I've lost because I was too prideful to get out there and ask other contractors, or get on YouTube, or read. Reading is so big that I would have never thought, but there's two things that I was just thinking about this the other day with reading. I hear people talk about audiobooks, and I hear people talk about, the podcast and stuff. And we've talked about this in our first podcast about, sometimes, or I guess it wasn't our first one, but maybe the second one, whatever it was, just not being able to focus. And the thing I've learned is, when you're listening to podcasts or you're listening to audiobooks, oftentimes you're doing something else, you're driving or whatever. And next thing you know, you've missed like this large portion. Well, I don't know about you, but I can't read and drive, or do anything else for that matter. So when I'm reading a book, I'm into that book. And it's just the knowledge comes a lot more freely. So I know other people who maybe have different skills that I don't have, and maybe they can do multitasking better. But I know for the majority of people, based on tests that I've taken, multitasking doesn't work.
And that's so there's a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. This is one of the things I was recommended to by the other insurance agent. He's also a certified The One Thing coach. So that's this book right here. So I've actually yet to read it. I got it. I've read the centerfold, or the inside fold, but
But yeah, I've heard great things about this.
So I'm about 45% of the way through it. I'll tell you what, it's pretty fantastic in the way that it lays things out because it breaks it down. But basically the idea is we try and do too much at once, right? And so what if, the idea behind the book is what if there was one thing that you could do that would then propel all the rest of the things in your life? But you're breaking it down to what's the one thing right now that drives the rest. And there's a lot that goes into it. And there's something called the 80-20 rule, which basically talks about 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions. And then you drill it down even further to figure out what the one thing is that drives almost all your actions. Or what one action you have that drives almost all your results. And so I guess going from that, it's the same thing as far as like getting started, right? Or qualifications.
Right.
It's what's that one thing that's holding you back? And if all it is fear, that's the easiest thing. Then all you gotta do is do it. If the only thing holding you back is fear, like literally, then you just do it.
Like if that's the biggest thing that's hurting you is, oh, I'm too scared to do it. I'm scared of what other people are gonna think about me. Well, if you're worried all the time about what other people think about you, then forget it because you're not gonna be successful anyway. Get out there and actually do something. And that's one thing that we've actually talked about is doing something you're nervous to do or doing something that you're uncomfortable doing at least once a day.
And just do it because you're uncomfortable.
Right, just do it because you're uncomfortable. Maybe it's something simple. Maybe you don't work out in the morning.
You talk about being afraid to use a saw when you first started.
Shoot, yeah. I was like, just
don't want chopping hands off.
Sure, whatever it is. It's not that I hadn't used one before, but it's not that I was not competent using it at all. But don't be afraid of something, and if you are, learn how to overcome it. Do something simple every single day. Like I said, maybe you don't work out at all in the morning. Maybe you wake up at 8 o'clock and then you have to be at work at 8:30. Maybe at that point, wake up 5 minutes earlier. So wake up at 7:55 and tell yourself, I'm going to do 1 minute of jumping jacks. That's it. Maybe you want to do 20 jumping jacks. I don't care what it is. Just do anything. Start getting yourself in the habit of doing things that you're uncomfortable with. And kind of on that subject, but back to kind of the one thing that's important is oftentimes, and I hate to call you out, but my fiance the other day and I were talking, and we were talking about, starting something new. And her deal was, well, but what happens at this point and this point and this point? And that's like, hold on, you're looking 5 steps down the road. Like, don't start with, hey, what are my first 5 steps going to be? Start with, what's the first thing I can do?
What's the one thing?
The very first thing. Not like, so I have my invention. I'm still working on it. Have I ever invented anything in my life? No. Do I know anybody who's ever invented anything? Not that I know of. I didn't have a clue. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know anything. So it was the first thing I did. Picked up the phone. Well, I picked up my smartphone and I went on and I said, invent, people that can help, me push my invention through. So I call this company. Turns out it was the wrong company. I'm really glad I didn't go with them. But I did learn a few things from them. So I took that learning and I moved it on to the next thing. And I didn't worry about my prototype yet. I had no idea what I was going to do with that. Now I have a prototype. Now I have my patents turned into the USPTO. I got all this stuff. But if I didn't just start because I was afraid, because I had never done it before, what would I be? I'd be doing the same thing. Right. And if you do the same thing every single day, if you wake up, if you don't like your life right now, and you wake up every day at 8 o'clock, and you start work at 9, and you get off work at 5, and you go home and you play video games, and then you have dinner, and you're still driving the same car, and you're still living in the same house, and you're still working the same job.
Well, I'd say that's even mild. Most people are doing that. They're also drinking themselves away, blowing their money on stupid things, overeating on
right,
food.
But this is just the basic things. Like, if you're not getting ahead doing the same thing that you did yesterday, then how the heck do you think that you're going to get ahead doing the same things you did yesterday, the next day, and the next day? That's what we say every day. Do something that makes you uncomfortable, because you start getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think the more you get that, the easier success comes. So, I don't know. I mean, you have anything else to add to that?
No, I think that really wraps it up. I guess the only other thing I could add is going back to not being afraid to start, qualifications, kind of wrapping this all up. Think of all the super successful people that were either told they couldn't do it or failed multiple times before they actually struck gold.
Right.
And I also like to refer back to athletes, because I think that's an easy thing for people to understand, is look at every athlete. Like, it's not like they just went out, were good at football, good at baseball, good at basketball, and called it good. Like,
right.
Like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant never left the gym. Antonio Brown, like, if you follow that guy, all he does, it looks like, is work out.
Right.
Even Kevin Hart is always at the dang
Dude,
gym.
Always.
And so it's not like they just woke up, but they're consistent. They work hard. They Kevin Hart, okay, the Super Bowl, acts like an idiot, tries to get on stage, super drunk, gets kicked out, makes a drunk Instagram post and that kind of thing, and then apologizes for it and moves forward. It didn't set him back.
And what did he didn't say,
sorry,
I shouldn't have been in the wrong for that, and that was their, no. Hold yourself accountable. Freaking, yeah, I did that. Shouldn't have done it. Hey, let's move on.
Yep.
So
figure it out.
Stop letting qualifications stop you. Stop thinking that you have to know everything before you start. Just start. Just
take ownership and start.
Just freaking start. Do one simple thing. One thing that you didn't do yesterday. And then the next day, do one more thing. Well, guess what? It only takes 10 days to get 10 steps further down. Well, step 10, you weren't thinking about it. Step 1, yet it's not even 2 weeks later and you're already there. Mm-hmm. So it's simple. Stop letting yourself hold yourself back. So I think that's it for tonight. Yeah. Like we say all the time, we're trying to improve this podcast every single week. We're going to be here every single week, whether we're talking to my phone or hopefully soon enough we'll be talking to a whole bunch of people, being able to help people do what we want to do, and just start. We start our businesses, start getting out there, start changing the world. I mean, that I think is our main goal, because we're not looking for money out of this. We're not looking for anything. All we want to do is help other people that are in situations like we were 1 year ago, 5 years ago, any of that, get to new points in their lives so they can feel happy, and they can be in the thought of, I'm going to succeed. And so like, comment, subscribe, share, get us out there. Please comment and tell us anything that you guys want to. Yeah, whether it's something you liked or something you really didn't like, or and if you didn't like it, definitely tell us. Yeah, that's huge, because, dude, I love being critiqued. And just the fact that his hat color is the way it is. I'm just kidding. That's right. We got new hats. We got new shirts. And, So, anyways, you guys have a good night. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys got some good info out of this today. And just keep starting things. Do things. Be amazing. Have a good night.